Why hasn't the countdown timer hasn't stopped? Oh wait, I know why that is. Forgive me. Okay. Happy Friday, everybody. Sorry. Oh, the shit show continues. Now, welcome to your weekly dose of housing doom. Your cheerful weekly dose of housing doom. Get out of it. Right, just a few things to get started. This is 5 Fact Friday. I'm Charlie Lambden. This is Moving Home with Charlie. Welcome back to all my followers. Welcome, a special welcome to all my new followers. We are live streaming on 8 different places right now on Friday, the 22nd of March. And this is the weekly video where I briefly, but not briefly enough for the people on TikTok, I'll come on to that in a minute, summarize the 5 verifiable facts that you can go and check for yourself in the link below that I think have the most significant impact on the housing market as a whole. In fact, I've just this moment thought of an 8th one, which I will come, because it's 5 normally, but there are actually 7 today. We're spoilt for choice. A lot happening. Now, just to frustrate the TikTokers that I get messages from all the time who are so furious that I don't just quickly spit out everything in 10 seconds so they can scroll on to the next video and satisfy their ADHD, I just need to recap something here, because a lot of people are very confused and think that I'm a doom monger, and that's why I joke about it in the title. And a lot of people think that I seem to enjoy the bad news. No, I don't. I'm just someone who likes to be cheerful at whatever I'm doing. There's nothing cheerful about the economic news. There's nothing cheerful about people struggling to move house. There's nothing cheerful about people unable to afford a home. What I find entertaining and puts a smile on my face is the abject denial in the face of overwhelming factual evidence that everything's fine and house prices can only go up. And no, Charlie, safe as houses. I mean, that phrase exists for a reason. And no, negative equity doesn't really matter. It only matters if you have to sell, and so on and so on and so on. And so I do find it endlessly entertaining, whilst also remaining open-minded to any good news about the economy. I welcome good news about the economy, because good news about the economy improves people's affordability and chances of owning a house. Okay. Now, people think that I am a housing market prophet of doom and a crash cult forecaster and all this kind of stuff. And that's not true. My job here is to try and present the cold, hard facts, whether they're good or bad, insofar as they affect people moving house. And of course, the moving industry itself, as all industries are wont to do, will tend to, consciously or not, lean towards the optimistic side of things. But when the whole industry is doing that, it creates a warped and distorted view of the reality, when in fact things are a bit harder. I have not always said that the housing market is bad, because I've been working in the housing market for over 20 years, and it has not always been bad. It currently is. And my biggest fear, and the people for whom I am most concerned, are people who are hoodwinked and tricked into believing that they are safe overpaying for a property, and then finding out 3 or 5 or even 7 years from now that they're going to lose their home because they overpaid, because they they weren't aware of the warning signs. So these facts, I always choose, whether they are good or bad news, good economic news or bad, or whatever it might be. But it's possibly also fair to say that I tend to lean towards the more negative stuff that's out there as a counterbalance to the guff that you hear from everyone telling you that everything's fine. No, the market's really good. Oh, we're getting bidding wars and we're getting multiple offers. And yeah, but then why have you got all those properties that have been on your website for months not sold? Why is supply of unsold properties going up, but you're not telling me that? Why are, and you get the point. So anyway, without further ado, And there's a special message to my TikTok followers. TikTok only allows me to upload 10 minutes of this, and my videos are frequently longer than 10 minutes. So if you're watching this on TikTok and you want to know where to see the rest of the video after you've watched the first 10 minutes, if you haven't fallen asleep by then, which most of you do, you can see the full video on YouTube or on my X channel or on the Moving Home with Charlie Facebook or Moving Home with Charlie Instagram, pretty much anywhere except TikTok, where because no one's got the attention span more of a gnat, they only allow you to upload 10-minute videos currently, as far as I'm aware. And to those TikTok viewers who are saying, Charlie, hurry up, spit it out. You've been talking for 6 minutes on 5 Fact Friday that haven't even started talking about the facts yet. Sorry, guys. Sorry. If you can't be bothered to wait, go to the link that I put below, which lists the facts, and you can hurry up and read through them and then quickly scroll on to whatever you want to go to next. Without further ado, and if you're listening to this on audio podcast, which is on Apple and Spotify and Google and everywhere that you get your podcasts, Moving Home with Charlie. And thank you, by the way, to those of you who listen who've been giving me reviews. I hadn't even checked this, but there's a lot of you on Spotify have given me reviews and also on Apple Podcasts. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. There are thousands of you every week listening to these podcasts. I will now get on with 5 Fact Friday. It's actually 7 facts today. It's actually 8 facts today, without further ado. So fact number 1. Now, I think this is actually the most exciting fact of the week, which is oh, my computer. Oh, oh no. Guys, are you still there? Can you still hear me? The connection was lost. I don't even know if anyone's still there. Can you still hear me, guys? Send me a message. Anyone. Someone says I'm back. Someone says I'm frozen. Right. Fact number 1. The ONS has released a new local house prices tool. I'm so sorry, guys. Work with me here. Where you go and put in your area. Let's put in Ipswich, just as a random one. And you immediately get a breakdown of land registry data about Ipswich. And this is actually very cool. I want you to remember that this data is roughly lagged by 6 months. They're reporting January, we're now in March, and these are for deals that were agreed in the marketplace about 4 or 5 months before that, okay? So we're talking about early autumn last year prices. And if you scroll down and gets to here we are. So the provisional average house price in Ipswich in January 24 was 11.3% lower than the year before, right? And there's the graph showing it. And really interestingly, they also show a breakdown by property type. So it looks like terraced houses fared the worst at about 12%, nearly. Flats, second worst, semi-detached, and then detached actually had the least falls at 10%. Okay, so that's Ipswich, and I'm going to pick Manchester now because I'm pretty sure Manchester has gone up. So we can see one that's down, one that's up. Manchester. Here we go. I haven't seen this before. I don't know what's going to say. There we are, 5.8% rise. So the provisional average house price in Manchester in January was £250,000, 5.8% on a year earlier. Okay. And in Manchester, ooh, okay. Look at the difference there. So flats are up 10% in Manchester. So huge demand for flats in Manchester. So really tough if you're a first-time buyer in Manchester. But detached, semi-detached, and terraced are all around about 3.5% up on the year. So we've got Ipswich down 11%, Manchester up 5%, but you can break it down by property type. This is an interesting tool. Please remember, it is 6 months behind what's happening in the market. So today, in March, there will have been more progress in those movements, whichever way it's going. But I really wanted to show you one up and one down so that you understand that the national average figures are worse than meaningless. Whether your local house prices have gone up or whether your local house prices have gone down, the national average is equally misleading and useless to you. The national average figure is only useful if you're in government and are working out what the value of the housing stock is for GDP purposes. For anyone else, it is totally king useless. That's fact number one. Anyway, so check it out. I hope you find that useful. And I would love to see everyone's feedback on that. Just please remember the 6-month lag in that data compared to what's happening at the market. So that's fact number one. Fact number two won't take a second. And it is that the Bank of England left the bank rate unchanged at 5.25%. Just a quick word on this. I've been doing a lot of, I was on the Mario Norfolk Twitter Spaces podcast yesterday, and I will be again in 40 minutes today. I'm on it today from 12 till 1 as a speaker, although I didn't get a word in edgeways yesterday. I hope to today. And I won't go into the details, but the data is there. The Bank of England and the Fed are slowly, actually Bank of England no, but Fed yes, slowly expecting rates to not come down as fast as they were. I don't know. This is not a prediction and it's not an expectation. But if I was forced to gamble on how many rate cuts there will be at the Bank of England this year, I was forced. I held a gun to my head and said, Charlie, you've got to place all your money on what you think is going to happen to interest rates this year. I would, with very small levels of confidence, I would bet that there'll be one rate cut this year in the summer or autumn, but definitely after the general election is announced, of 0.25%, and that'll be it. And we'll end the year with the bank base rate at 5%. I don't know. I probably am wrong, right? But that's what I would bet if I was a betting man, and I'm not. That's my bet. Yeah, I can hear lots of you screaming, no, Charlie, there are going to be at least 3 cuts and rates are going to come down. And blah, 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 blah. But yeah, you might be right. There might be 3 rate cuts this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were. I just think that's what I think is going to happen. A one rate cut by the end of the year. Oh, screen share not working. Oh. Is the screen share working now? Did you not see the let me go back here. Is that screen share working now? That's the Manchester price. Can you see it now? I don't know what to do, guys. I don't know what to do. This has never happened before. Let me unshare. Let me stop sharing. And let me reshare again. Let's hope that works. And let's bring it back. How's this, guys? Can you see that now? Any luck? Is that better? Waiting for an answer. Yay! You can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Yes. Brilliant. Okay. So very quickly, that's Manchester, which has got a 5.8% rise in the year to January, and Ipswich was an 11% fall. So you can just see the regional variations. There we are, 11.3% fall in Ipswich, but with less difference between the property types. I'm glad that's working. I'm sorry, guys. That's what happens when you haven't got a team helping you out. By the way, guys, this is not my full-time job, right? This is a sideline. It's like my hobby. It's a bit of PR and marketing for Best Agent. This is why I do this. So I'm sorry, it's such an amateur shit show, but there we are. And the Bank of England base rate was not exciting, other than just to show you the page on there. The current rate was unchanged this week, and onwards, straight onwards into RightMove. So this week, RightMove released its house price index, and I'm not going to spend long on this, other than look at that headline: stronger buyer demand as sales market marches into spring. Now, this is an example of what I mean by the industry talking it up, but leaving out the most important thing, which I'll come on to because it's one of my next facts. This is arguably one of the RightMove house price index is arguably one of the biggest contributing factors to overpricing, because it creates a false impression of what's happening in the whole market, because the index is only based on the most recent 30 days or the recent month of newly listed properties. It's not the whole market. It's only newly listed properties each month. Before that, and if they have price reductions in the month, which many of them do after 2 weeks, that's not included in the calculation. And there are very large numbers of price reductions in the rest of the market. Houses that have been on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months are having very high numbers of price reductions, not included, not even talked about, not mentioned in the RightMove house price index, giving a genuinely misleading perception of what's happening, not only to movers, but also to a lot of agents that don't do the number digging in this. There are agents that don't understand that this is what RightMove does. But more importantly, nowhere in that RightMove house price index monthly report that they've done do they refer to the much higher increase in the number of properties coming to the market. So that's why I say it's misleading. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to try and catch up with time now. So the next one after that is, okay, here's something else that's completely useless and completely misleading. The ONS published their national house price statistics for January. And the average price of a property in the UK, that is England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, all of which have different averages, but the average of all 4 of those, who does that help, was £281,913. But hang on a second, that's for the average property. But the average property is made up of flats, semi-detached houses, terraced houses, and detached houses. And it's like this weird thing that it conjures up the typical property that's somehow made up of all of those components. And then it's a year-on-year price, which is 6 months lagged at least. So I think that this particular number on here, unlike the local one that they've just done, which is really cool, this particular number is the most useless of all house price indices numbers, to the point where I think I might not even keep on including it in 5 Fact Friday, because I don't think it makes any difference to anything. And I think the way that they calculate it is misleading. I think the way they calculate it doesn't take into account the skew in the transaction volumes at the higher end and the lower end. So I just think it's useless. So my fact for the week on this is that the national average of those 4 countries and 4 different property types, all melded into one yearly estimated on a very small sample size figure, is close to being completely useless if you want to move house. And that was fact number, I can't even remember what number that's on now. So 1, 2, 3. That was fact number 4. Fact number 5. Okay. Inflation came out this week. I'm just checking in the, I'm assuming you can all still see me and hear me and see the graph, because no one's shouting. So that's cool. Now, a lot of noise was made in the media this week about how fast inflation's coming down. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. And if you look here, we've got, okay, it was up there at whatever crazy numbers it was, 11.1% it was up there 18 months ago or so. But look at that line at the bottom, right? Look at, let's just get we can't make it, cut them out. That OOH, owner-occupier housing costs. And all of you watching this channel have an interest in the owner-occupier housing costs. Look how much that ticked up in the last month, 5.4% to 6%. Which means that whatever the national inflation figure may or may not be, we as owner-occupiers of houses are experiencing a very different thing to inflation, and that affects the economy. All right, and so a 3.8 and 3.4% is lower than it was, but is still high compared to where the target needs to be. So back down here is where we want it, or about 2%, right? And so we're still way above that, and it might continue to come down. I remain on the fence about this, right? Alex Groundwater thinks that we are heading rapidly into depression, deflation, not disinflation, but deflation, where inflation actually goes negative, which is worse than inflation. If that happens, deflation is worse than inflation. Other people think inflation is going to go up and it's going to rebound. I don't have an opinion on it. I think there's too much uncertainty, and I hear both arguments, and I simply don't have a strong opinion on whether inflation is going to go back up or whether we're actually going to go into deflation. Interesting times. But nevertheless, that was an inflation figure that people think is going to affect what the Bank of England does with base rates. But remember that the Bank of England is very closely tied to the Federal Reserve in America and what they do. And inflation over there is getting much stickier than it even is here. So rate expectations at the Fed have gone back up a little bit from where they were 3 months ago in the most recent report. Okay, so that was the 5 facts, but I've got an extra 3 bonus facts. So my industry friend Christopher Watkins, who does the weekly housing stats show, I think that the weekly stats, because they're national, are of limited value to not only movers but to agents as well. But occasionally, I think something comes out which I think shows, like last week, he said actually that was this week, wasn't it? The difference between newly listed asking prices and sale agreed prices last week was 23%. This week is 21%, but that's a big gap. No, that does not mean people are doing 21% discounts of asking price. It is the difference between the average newly listed price and the average sale agreed price. But the long-term average for that is about 16%. But that includes stuff that never sells, so it doesn't mean that that's what the discounts are. But that's still big. But today he put out these figures, and I just want you to see that this is the year to date. So 2024 so far to date. So what are we, 10, 11 weeks into 2024? And the total number of properties listed is by far the highest in the last 8 years. That is supply in terms of, so supply of housing in terms of the marketplace is the supply of homes available for sale, and that is going up faster than the demand is going up. And that, in my view, is another negative indicator on house prices. It'd be interesting to see what it does to transaction volumes. I don't know. I really hope that we see transaction volumes improve. So that was bonus fact number 1, or fact number 6. Bonus fact number 7, bonus fact number 2, or fact number 7, was that this morning retail sales figures came out, right? Now, let me ask you guys, what's your perception, those of you watching live, what's your perception from the headlines that you've heard this morning about whether or not the retail sales figures out today were positive or negative? Because all the headlines I saw were better than expected. They're back. Further signs that the economy is bouncing back. And I thought, and then I saw people going, but the pound hasn't moved on it. The pound hasn't got any stronger. And then I looked at the numbers, and look at what we've got here. Retail sales volumes were estimated to be flat. Zero growth on February 2023. In January, retail sales volumes were 3.6% higher than a year ago. In February, they're now not any higher than a year ago. I fail to see how there's any positive spin on that? Is it just me? Am I really just looking through spectacles of doom tinted specs, or really, you know, I find it amazing that anyone can spin that into a positive, but they are. And fact number 8 that I don't have teed up, and you can check it for yourself, is that this week the Renters Reform Bill, yet again yesterday, and this is thanks to Suzanne Smith, the indie landlord, who tweeted this yesterday, and I'm sorry I haven't got it lined up. You can go and look at her. Just find the indie landlord on X. Yesterday, when they announced things that are going to be up for discussion in Parliament, the Renters Reform Bill, yet again, is not there. And in Suzanne's opinion, that means that there is now almost zero chance that the Renters Reform Bill will get passed before this government or before the election. Now, I am neither for nor against the Renters Reform Bill. I'm always for change and for progress, and there are pros and cons in there. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but what I think is terrible is that they said this is going to happen and it's been kicked into the long grass. That's fact number 8. All right, guys. So I saw a couple of questions creeping in here. Ian Downing asks, from your understanding, is the Northwest showing slower reductions in house prices compared to the rest of the UK? Manchester, certainly. The Northwest, generally, yes, slower reductions. I don't think they're going to be completely immune to it over the next couple of years. I think that if there are falls in the Northwest eventually, then those falls will, the trough of those falls will finish later than the rest of the country. And you're saying also, at what period of 2024 do you expect the most reductions to occur? It varies. It varies where you are in the country, and it's very, very gradual. It's so glacially slow. There isn't going to be a sudden thing. But I think as the year goes on, we will see increasing signs of more unsold properties and increasing anecdotal signs of prices being agreed lower and lower and lower. Just have to wait and see. Do we have... Tina B says, I don't think RightMove has a minus key on their keyboard. Very funny. Right, guys, I'm going to call it. And wish you all the best, and see you soon. Lots more stuff always to come. Have a fantastic weekend. Please share my channel with your friends if they're moving, because even my philosophy is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's why I present the data that I think shows you what could be the worst case scenario, so you can make up your own mind in the market where you're looking. If you are wanting to buy but worried, my advice is the same to everyone, which is be out viewing. Because only by being out viewing will you have a chance to be in the right place at the right time when the right motivated seller with a home you want comes along, prepared to sell it to you at the price that you want to afford, at the price you can afford. So if you actually want a home, always be out viewing. And no, it's not a waste of estate agent's time as long as you are truthful with them. And say, look, I want a home and I want to buy. I'm worried because there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. But if I find the right home and the right price, I will buy it. That's all you need to say to agents, okay? To be honest and straightforward and transparent with them. I want to buy it. I'm worried, but I want to buy it. But if the right thing comes along at the right price, I'll buy it. And I'm in a position to do so. Okay, so be out viewing, because there is no other way. Even the ONS's newest local house price tool is 6 months out of date and is not telling you what's happening at the front line of house sales. So until I get my exchange price index fully live and published, and don't worry, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes on that. I'm trying to get more and more agents to contribute their exchange prices to it on a permanent ongoing basis to make sure that it's not too small. And then I'll be preparing for a big social media launch to try and get a large number in there so we can get it out of the gate, so to speak, have a really useful exchange price index. But until that's there, there is still nothing that tells us what's happening Yeah, okay. So here's an example of someone citing what I think isn't a meaningful fact in the weekly Chris Watkins stuff. So gross sales year to date. Okay, so that's not including fall throughs. But number of sales agreed year to date is larger this year than in 2017, 18, 19. Cool. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? Someone moving house today? It doesn't change anything, does it? Like, that's good news. I mean, but what is it actually? What is the context and relevance of that? What is the relevance of the 2017, 18, and 19 market to someone who's moving house today and wasn't moving house then? What does it change for them? Does it mean does that mean, oh, well, they should buy or that they shouldn't buy? What does that mean even to estate agents? Okay, cool. What does that? How does that affect what's coming in the next few months? How does that affect the standoff between overpriced sellers and buyers that can't afford the prices? I don't know who Almost There is, and I don't know if you are someone in the industry or not, but that's a classic example of what I think is a inconsequential statistic. I fail to see what's interesting about that statistic, other than for estate agents, 2024 is better than it was in 2017. It's still worse than it was last year. You're still down on last year. How is it any consolation? I just don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, Richard Batley says totally pointless comparison. I'm being open-minded here. I genuinely am looking for anything that's of value. My rule is that I try to only put data out if the data has something of meaning, of value, or of consequence in it. But just pumping out stats week in, week out that don't necessarily tell you anything, but are just trying to support a sort of, so it's okay, everything's fine. I don't see that. I don't understand how it helps even agents. It's just trying to. Oh wow, Shirley X says that's what happened to me, Charlie. I found the right one for me. Thanks for your advice. So you mean you were out viewing, were you, Shirley? And you found the right one. If you're not out viewing, you will not. I guarantee you will not find a bargain home at a price you want to move into now if you're not out viewing. Guaranteed. It's 100% certainty, right? Unless you are viewing, you do not avail yourself of that opportunity of being in the right place at the right time. Desired State on X makes the point, anyone who trusts a word from the mainstream establishment and media gets what they deserve. We are lied to at every possible junction. You know what's interesting about that is that I recently heard someone who's been a devout believer of mainstream and press and media their whole life, they're a boomer, actually go, I'm beginning to realize maybe something's changed. It doesn't feel right anymore. That is a crack. It's a chink of light in the darkness of disinformation, isn't it? BJ says, I live just south of Cardiff. I use Property Log and virtually everything is reduced and sticking. But guys, I've got to go. I've got to do my prep. If you're bored and want something to listen to, and you want to listen to me trying to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about anything, on the Mario Norfolk daily finance live conversation on X, I'll be there at midday today. I do have some views, and I do have a little bit of qualification to be there talking about it. But my God, they get deep into the details out there. It's mostly about in the American market anyway, the American investment market, but the global one too. PSO Productions asked the questions saying, Charlie, help me out. I understand everything you said, but I'm not seeing price drops in South Essex. Okay, when you say you're not seeing price drops, are you just looking at asking prices on the internet, or are you out viewing properties and hearing agents tell you that actually this seller is looking for offers? Which one is it? Okay, are you actually viewing? So you say, I'm desperate to buy. Can you confirm this? Looking for 3-bed house for 260 to 300. Price is holding. What do you mean price is holding? Do you mean that stuff is selling for those prices? Could you confirm, PSO Productions, what you mean? Because, I mean, there are places where prices will hold up. I mean, that price in Essex is the first time buyer level. And maybe you're competing with downsizing people So maybe the prices are holding up. There are marketplaces where the prices won't fall as much as they are in other areas. Oh, you are viewing. Okay. Have you made any offers then, PSO Productions? Have you made any offers? Have you even tried just to put an offer in on something that's been on the market for a long time, that's not selling for other reasons? Okay, here's a challenge. I'll accept it. Almost there says Charlie's rule: only put out data that supports his narrative. Now, this is a frequent challenge I get, and I welcome it. Thank you, Almost There, for doing it. Whenever I get this challenge, what I ask for is, what new data do you have that came out in the last 7 days, in the last week, verifiable data that goes against what you call my narrative, or that you think is a positive sign for the housing market? Okay, you've quoted Chris Watkins saying that cumulative gross sales to date are up on 2017. All right, tell me how that affects today's housing market, and I will accept that I should have put that in. Otherwise, give me. I've showed you that the land registry says that year-on-year house prices are up 0.5%. Was it down 0.5% on the year, up 0.5% on the month? I've put that out there. Right? I've said house prices are rising according to the land registry year on year. I'm not hiding from that. That doesn't support my what you call my narrative. You see, house prices are flat. This is not true. House prices are down in some places and up in other places. House prices are flat is a bullshit generalization. And house prices were flat nationally across all 4 countries 6 months ago. So I'm sorry, Almost There. You're someone who's just completely brainwashed by what you want to believe. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. But keep on challenging me. Bring me something that you think is a valid fact that came out in the last 7 days that I should have included as being relevant to the housing market, that it doesn't go with what you call my narrative. Come on, you're making comments here, Almost There, and I'm not hearing you saying anything. So again, I'm afraid your challenge is a hollow one. PSO Productions, do you want to give me an example of an offer that you made? Okay, getting out a bit every time. Okay. Yeah, there are markets where, unfortunately, if you are looking at property that's the most sought after property, because it's what all first-time buyers are looking at and what all downsizers are looking at, it's going to be a struggle. What I would say is, make certain that you really do have your offer including everything that I've said, right? So your mortgage and principal, your credit check ready to go mortgage and principal, your proof of deposit funds, your confirmation that you've got a conveyancer lined up ready to go, and that you will pay for your search pack on the day the offer is accepted. All of those things cost you nothing to include in the offer. And if you're not doing that, you're missing a trick that might get your offer accepted when you're up against other people. Right, Almost There is still posting comments, but not responding to my invitation to provide a fact from the last 7 days that goes against anything I've said. Or he's just talking about asking prices are dropping. Asking prices are dropping. Okay. Yes, so what? So what? So stop saying everything's going up. For fuck's sake. Okay, guys, I really am going to wrap it up because I haven't got long to prepare for this next thing. Thank you for engagement. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And please remember, I'm here to help you if I can. So go to my website, mhwc.co.uk. If you want to talk to my brokers, it's /mortgage. If you want to talk to my conveyancers, it's /conveyancing. If you want to buy a search pack, it's /property-pack. You can find them all from my homepage, mhwc.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to this on audio podcast, share it with your friends. Help spread the word. Help get the truth out there. Love and luck to everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. See you on the next one. Bye-bye, guys.